Good evening, guys. Welcome to Saturday Night Pontificating with Pete on Revolutionary Change. Hope you're all doing well. It looks like we're already off to an amazing start. 250 of you are already here. Hope you're all having a great start to the weekend, the holiday season. Hope you're all staying safe. Lord knows it's a rough world out there right now. Just heard about what happened at Brown University. We keep saying, the system's collapsing, and a lot of people are just looking for different ways to stay away from the pain, I guess. But, there's obviously a lot to unpack this evening, and Jen is in the background, so I'm sure she'll be helping out. Rachel is working an event this evening, so double duty for Jen. All kidding aside, like I said, hope you're all doing well. Smash that like button if you would be so kind. It doesn't cost anything. It helps us get this out to even more people, which is obviously a great way to go, because we have a lot of wonderful stories. I wouldn't even say wonderful. I would just say stories that need to be covered this evening because of the implications about everything we've been talking about. When it comes to the media ecosystem and a lot of what's been going around, I know a lot of people have been turning to our channel when it comes to the defense of Candace Owens, because it's clear that a substantial portion of the independent media sphere, the corporate media sphere, as you've now seen on CBS News, not a surprise, liberal media, etc., they're all trying to basically deal with her. That's the nicest way that I'll put it. Again, it's not a question of, do I ideologically line up with Candace? I don't. But I do believe that she is seeking the truth, which, again, doesn't necessarily win you friends. It obviously gets you a hell of a lot of enemies. And so the people that I think are being exposed, without question, are ones that just needed to be exposed anyway. But it comes down to a universal truth about the system that we're living in right now. I want to be very clear about this. All these conversations that you see, the times that people waste online constantly jibber-jabbering back and forth about pointless bullshit about what is and what isn't. Here's a little interesting clip that I found from Instagram that kind of crystallizes it all. The New World Order, if you will.
Argue in the developed countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations.
Now, remember, that is Larry Fink, head of BlackRock. So this is a list of all of the wonderful ideas that the New World Order has for why you will own nothing and be happy. When we ask ourselves, why are things so bad? Why does it feel like we're collapsing as a nation in so many respects? Well, this gentleman, if you want to call him that, is one of many that is a part of the overarching problem. The ones that we don't normally talk about are the ones that we don't normally see. But this is just the start. There is more.
You do not even have to have elections anymore, because
why would we need to have elections when it's obvious that they don't mean anything? If Klaus Schwab is right about one thing, he's definitely right about that. This is exactly what they intended. This is exactly what they're getting.
because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
Our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior.
What we are very proud of now, the young generation, like
it is very important that you get in line and do as we say. Otherwise, we will take care of you. You'll have our camps going up everywhere. That's Sprachen Sie Deutsch, you know. I mean, my goodness, he really is a Nazi, isn't he?
Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, so that we penetrate the cabinets.
You want the function, you want the service, right? Why do you want to own a cell phone if you can just lease it?
Well, I don't know. How much were you paid to say that bullshit? I don't know, guys. Wouldn't you rather own something that can grow in value over time? I mean, isn't that the whole point of investing? You invest in a home, you invest in a stock, you invest in a business, you invest in a building. You don't need those things. Let us keep it. You can all go about trying to survive on what little menial amounts of money you're able to accumulate.
And if you lease, why shouldn't you lease your...
And as AB says, she's hot. Yeah, exactly. That's why she's up there spewing that bullshit, because simple-minded people, perhaps like you, will say, oh, but she's hot, so I guess I'll listen to her. No, no, no. That is not why you listen. You listen to do the opposite. Remember, the opposite of what the attractive lady is saying. She wants all of your money and all of the power. Not a good thing to let them hang on to.
Refrigerator or your washing machine or your dishwasher or...
Yeah, why would you need any of those things? Why would you need a dishwasher? Why would you need a washing machine and a dryer? Go back to the olden days where everybody had to wash their clothes in the kitchen sink, assuming you don't lease the sink as well. Nice and clean, get it out there. And then you set up those strings. I don't remember the exact name of them, but you guys know what I'm talking about. You had the liner where you would hang up your clothes and dry them outside, air dry them. You know, come on, it's a little extra work, but hey, you don't have to worry about paying for a washer dryer.
Why do you want to own it?
I propose putting an end to anonymity on social media.
If 1 billion people stop eating meat, I tell you it has a big impact.
Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brain?
Let me be very clear. You will have something in your brain. I will be listening to everything in your brain. Nothing go in mine. It all come from you. I feel like I'm coming into Arnold. We have to get out of here. This is too dangerous. These people are crazy. This is why I escaped Austria, really Germany. I came over here because I knew that the United States was a safe place, but this place is crazy. Klaus Schwab really is psycho. Like he really is.
I can, and we measure your brain waves.
There's some really interesting research that we can plant false memories in the brain.
Oh my God! False memories in the brain. With that, this is almost, you know what this is like? You know, speaking of Arnold, this in so many respects is like Total Recall. Why have reality when we could just implant it in your brain? It's an ego trip. I know it sounds wild. It's the latest in our technology. That's what it sounds like. Recall, as Keith says. That's true. That's what it is. Why have real memories when we could just make them up for you and you could pretend like you've lived a fun life?
People believing that they've been at Disney World with characters who are not Disney characters, taking photographs with those characters.
And substituting humans for machines.
Well, we all know that's something they definitely plan on doing. There is no question about it. That is the road that we're heading down now. That's where we're going. We're going to a world where we are going to be subjected to the revisionist history that not just Larry Fink, but the entire WHO, the entire cast of characters of people that do not think we are worthy of having anything nice in this world. We should just be grateful that we still have air to breathe. We all know the water is being completely contaminated and poisoned in so many different parts of the world. That is what climate change really is. It's the disintegration of our natural resources. Now, you could say measured wise or not about the effect that the human carbon footprint has on storms, etc. But again, there is no denying that what the multinational corporations, DuPont, of course, comes to mind, what they've done to our water, what they've done to our air, endless war, the banking, everything. Well, they're going to try. I mean, have you not seen Spaceballs? Perry Air, the president? 10,000 years of fresh air. With the way he runs things, it won't last 100. Well, yeah, commodification of everything. That's what the system has become. And so it should come as no surprise that this is the system that we're dealing with. These are the people who are running our lives. So how do we fight back? And the question of, is water privatized in the United States? Yeah, in a lot of ways it is. A lot of restaurants now, they're not giving away free water. Some are, but it's not like it used to be. And the encouragement is never to offer you water. It's always to say, what water would you like to purchase this evening? So it's the little things. It's the nuances. And again, over time, may it be. So that's it. This, again, I think is important to kick things off because I want you all to understand what, well, thank you very much, Stuke. I appreciate you being here. Smash that like button too while you're at it. Again, This is the type of stuff that we have to hear in the chat because, again, it's not a question of him being a Jew. It is a question of, is he part of the oligarchic ruling class? Yes, he is. And it just so happens that a lot of Zionist Jews are a part of it. So if you're going to use the term, use it correctly. It isn't a question of them being Jewish. It's a question of whether or not they're Zio scum. And Larry Fink is, among many others, like Larry Ellison and so forth. That's great to know, Tony. It's not my birthday, although a lot of people would suspect that I really am Steve Buscemi in some disguise, and I'm not. Happy birthday to my father. I mean, never mind. He's not really. It's all fun and games until it's not. But yes, these problems will continue to grow exponentially over time unless we are committed to dealing with it. There are many people that will continue to push these narratives on behalf of corporate power. That's what we have to remember more than anything else. It isn't really an issue as it pertains to, are we able to fight back against this machine? I believe we are, but collectively we don't know how to work together. What we are learning is that the powers that be are deathly afraid of the direction that this country is going in right now, because right now there is, as you all know, a very pointed, dare I say, aggressive determination on the part of the average American to break away from the Zio-controlled state of Israel that it has over our daily lives. But the one thing that we haven't achieved yet as we continue to go forward is whether or not we're going to collectively work together to end this Zio state. Now, that, probably more than anything, is what they're most concerned about. So that's why censorship becomes such a major component in this overarching method that they're going for, which is just shut everybody up and platform everyone who's willing to go along with that talking point. And that's one of the main reasons why Erika Kirk is going to become a main featured player in tonight's discussion. Again, I've only addressed her maybe once or twice before, but it's now getting out of hand because it's obvious that they're trying to boost her to the top of the mountain, if you will. CEO of Turning Point USA, Barry Weiss giving her a tongue bath, figuratively, in her interview, which again should come as no surprise. And all the while, we're looking around and asking ourselves, who are these people that are propping them up? Who are these people that are giving them this opportunity to continue pushing this narrative that if you do not get on your hands and knees for the Zio state, well, you're in a lot of trouble, big trouble. In fact, you're in so much trouble that you're going to burn in hell. I'm not kidding. We have covered extensively what's been going on right now when it comes to the 1,000 Christian pastors that have been summoned to Tel Aviv to become ambassadors of Israel and to bring it back to their flock here in the States. It turns out that that was just the start. The goal is to get another 10,000 evangelical Zionist preachers over there for their training and then bring it back here to the States. Isn't that sweet? Well, you know that I've covered Rob McCoy, Charlie Kirk's pastor, before. Nice little grifter. Well, he's not alone in Southern California in terms of the grift. Now, for those of you who may or may not have heard of Jack Gibbs, this man apparently is also a preacher, and he has some very hellfire and brimstone type thoughts for each and every one of you who doesn't get on their hands and knees for Israel.
Logical standpoint, if we think God will break what he described as an everlasting covenant with them, how does our covenant of salvation
You don't
stand?
have one. If God breaks his covenant promise with Israel, then you now have no assurance that you'll make it to heaven.
So now you have no assurance that you will make it to heaven if you do not accept. You know, they say usually in the evangelical church, you know what they usually say is if you do not accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you will burn in hell. Well, now it's if you do not accept your Lord and Master is the state of Israel, you're going to burn in hell. How much you think Jack Gibbs was paid for that statement? I'd be checking his bank account. You know, everybody who's on the grifting train, accusing Candace Owens, for example, of being a grifter and just doing it for clout and clicks and whatnot, why don't you look into this guy and see how much money he's getting? See what type of stuff he's involved in, because I'm sure it's probably not above board in any way. It's probably one giant grift, as is all, with all due respect. I have all the respect in the world for people who truly believe in Christ, who believe that living a pious life is the path to salvation. I have all the respect in the world for people who choose to live that way. I have no issue there. But where the issue does come into play, and I think everybody universally should be able to agree upon this, is that men like this, they give religion a bad name.
As a believer. And some people have said over the years, it's quite a cute but cool response and quite accurate. Can you prove the existence of God with one word? And that person said, Israel.
This is so beyond the pale, I can't even put it in words. This is where people, rightfully so, become agnostic or they become atheist. It's because of people like this. And I don't blame them one bit. Why would you ever believe that salvation comes through people like this? First of all, the fact that he's up there with his 4-inch cowboy heel boots, that doesn't leave much to the imagination. And by the way, since we're almost at 1,000 live viewers already, which is unbelievable, guys, if you would be so kind, please make sure that you do subscribe over at Rumble. I say this because there is always the opportunity for the powers that be to come in and shut us down. So if you could, subscribe at Rumble. And it is revolutionary change. I don't think there is anything that this man could say that would surprise me. Because once you understand the grift, once you understand how this works, it's too easy to spot from a mile away. But I do sympathize with the people that are afraid. I sympathize with people who just truly are God-fearing, and this is what they've been brought up in. They've been brought up in this world to make them believe that if they dare question the person who stands at the podium, that they've committed a mortal sin and that they must repent for their entire life. He is not worthy of being called a pastor. He is a grifter, as are so many others. The gentleman that is sitting next to him is actually, and again, I don't recall his name and I don't really care what his name is. I just know his face. That pastor is somebody who does a show from Washington, D.C. He preaches his ever-loving Israel support through his indoctrination in front of the U.S. Capitol. That's what he puts in. That's what's in the background when you watch his live stream. Now, I'm all about symbolism. And in my opinion, separation of church and state is very important to me, as it should be for everybody. But clearly for these people, it isn't. And you know what I say to that, guys? Remove the tax-exempt status. That's the only way to end this.
In fact, I made a big Jewish friend laugh, and pray for him, please. But Dennis Prager, we're very close. And
for those of you that don't know, and this is a really spicy meatball that you might not be aware of, Dennis grifting PragerU in the classrooms. Dennis Prager, that guy, he took a really nasty spill, and he basically has a broken back, and he probably won't walk again. I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but I'm not saying it's a bad thing either. At least he can't get up in front of a crowd and tell them all to drop on their knees and suck Israel. At least he can't do that anymore.
I told Dennis, I said, listen, you should listen to what I have to say to you. And why should I listen to you? He said, why should I listen to you?
It's almost like he's making fun of him because Dennis literally has to sit back on a hospital bed now. So maybe he went and visited him in the hospital, and that's why he's arching back like that. I'm just saying.
I said, because I'm a Gentile.
So they're playing into that game as well. They're playing into this notion that, the Jews are the chosen people, and we should just accept this shortcoming in life. We are not worthy of being in the same airspace as a chosen person. Jen and I talk about this all the time. Nothing creates more anti-Semitism, and it's not the proper term because these are not Semites, but nothing creates more Jewish hatred than people like this. That's where it comes from. And why are they doing this? For money and power. And as we've often said, you can never do enough to please the state of Israel. Ever. There is a reason why we see different people conduct business in different ways. The reason that they act the way that they do has as much to do with whether or not their bottom line is being padded. Now, all too often, we have not necessarily seen people present themselves in an honest way, and we're not really sure why they're doing what they're doing. Transparency used to always be a big issue. But the good news is that today, the grifting has become so transparent that anyone can objectively see when somebody is going out of their way for a paycheck. I don't think that at this point that anyone would dare question that. And why do I bring this up? I bring it up because, as you guys know, a time or two, I have covered Tommy Robinson. And I know we have a lot of viewers from across the pond, from around the world. Now, I use Tommy Robinson for a reason. Tommy Robinson is a very good example of somebody who would do anything, and I mean anything, for a paycheck. Now, as you know, it was I want to say, I think whatever that event was called, March for Unity. Stephen Yaxley Lennon, his real name. So Stephen Yaxley Lennon led a Unite the Rally March, which was in London, I want to say 2 or 3 months ago. And at the time, I saw the march and I said, they have a lot of people there. No question. Now, did they have nearly as many as they said that they had? Of course not. But they had a lot. They had at least 100,000. And the estimate was that they had about 200, anywhere from 100 to 200,000 was how many actually showed up, even though they were claiming that they had at least 1 million to 3 million. Kind of like how I always exaggerate my rallies and how many people actually show up. Well, apparently there was another get-together that just took place on behalf of this ideology that he's been fighting. And we all know that Tommy Boy, because that's what we're going to call him, Tommy Boy didn't have nearly as much luck. And this, of course, is coming from The Guardian. This isn't coming from just some random type of publication that perhaps wasn't even in the UK. This is coming from one that generally is regarded as conservative. So you would think that they're probably being as transparently honest as you would hope for them to be, meaning that there's probably even an overcount. It turns out that this particular event, the Christmas service event, which took place earlier today, only drew 1,000 people. That's one hell of a drop-off. And good old Tommy Boy, who was nothing more than a pawn for the Zio state in the UK. I mean, when you think about the people that get on a pedestal, therein lies the rub. Tommy Robinson will do, say, and act on behalf of the state of Israel, period. Whatever they want, whatever they need, he will do it. He will continue to prove not just how hypocritical he is, but how hypocritical the entire movement. Because remember, Tommy Robinson is a rabid anti-Muslim bigot. And it appears that this is what is being used, or what is used, to stop any type of upward mobility movement against the state of Israel through the support for Palestine. Now, Tommy Robinson is just as fake as Israel because he doesn't even use his real name. But this event, which he was anticipating would bring in a lot of people, as the Guardian reports, number is stark contrast with estimated 110,000 of far-right activists Unite the Kingdom rally in September. So just a few months ago. And that's how much of a dramatic drop-off. The far-right activist Tommy Robinson led a carol concert to put Christ back into Christmas on Saturday in an event that had a huge drop-off in attendance from his last rally in London. The Metropolitan Police said that about 1,000 people attended the event at its peak, in stark contrast to the estimated 110,000 who turned up for Robinson in September. Saturday's event was kept away from a counter-protest organized by Stand Up to Racism in central London. Stand Up to Racism wrote, Robinson's event got nowhere near the big numbers he predicted today. While there is absolutely no room for complacency, it shows that Tommy Robinson's momentum can be broken. Now let's all go out to build a massive together against the far-right demo on Saturday, March the 28th. So we'll see what happens again in a few months. Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, told the crowd he used to hate the church, but met a pastor in prison. Oh, you can't make this up. Who taught him about the Bible. Hyman sheets were handed out to the crowd, and a woman walked around selling St. George's flags and Santa hats. Before the event, the Church of England released a video on its YouTube channel in which people ranging from the Archbishop of York to school children spoke about the joy, love, and hope of Christmas. The message is a simple reminder that Christmas belongs to all of us, and everyone is welcome to celebrate. Several leaders spoke out against the dangers of Christian nationalism and the appropriation of Christian symbols to bolster the anti-migrant views of Robinson and his supporters. Rowan Williams, a former Archbishop of Canterbury, warned of the potential weaponization of events and said the Church of England must be absolutely clear that the true Christian message was one of compassion and welcome to all. Now, I'm going to stop here for a reason. Now, we all know that Tommy Robinson is a very little man in many respects, but he's open for business. And one thing I have been making abundantly clear when it comes to the Zionist state, you are only as good as the last event that you hosted, the last message you put out there, the last fundraiser you completed. In the end, you will be subjected to, let's just say, a weekly check-in to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing is actually beneficial to the Zionist state. Because if it isn't, you could be subjected to being ostracized, taken out. There's a lot of things that could happen. And in the case of Tommy Robinson, he's dealing with a legal problem now. And that legal problem is 6 figures deep. And apparently, he's having trouble getting the money to pay that bill. Why don't you just call up your Zio friends and have them pay it off for you? All you do is wrap yourself in the Israel flag all day, every day. Why aren't they footing the bill for you? Why aren't they stepping up? I wonder. But here's Tommy filming himself, complaining about a lawsuit of which he doesn't even know what a writ is.
I've been taken to the High Court by Jamal Hijazi. Yeah. Let me just have a look. Do you know who that is?
What, again? I've been taken there again.
Just trying to see when the date of this writ was for you. I'm driving it.
When you say writ, what does that mean?
A High Court writ, which means we're now instructed by the High Court to either collect the payment or seize your assets.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Wouldn't that just be a hoot? Tommy Robinson goes out of his way all day, every day, to support the Zionist state. And in the few short months since his really incredible rally, that was a very overrated number, he apparently has major legal bills that he can't afford to pay, and it looks like he's going to lose his assets. Gee, that's a real shame, isn't it?
Okay, so, but I went, for the Jamal Hijazi stuff, I went bankrupt after that whole case. So all of that was in bankruptcy, everything.
Have you got proof of all that? Have you got any paperwork to
Yeah,
support that?
that was 2021. So 2021, after that court case, I went bankrupt. I had a bankruptcy investigation. I've had the full investigation, everything, every penny, banks. I've been summoned into court on oath to talk about what bank accounts I have in different countries and everything. I've done it all. I've done all this. But even if you just Google, it'll come up with Tommy Robinson declared bankrupt all over the news.
All right, I will do.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Jamal Hijazi. So that's what I've already gone through all this. They're coming back after it.
Are you surprised? Why would you be surprised? Why would you be surprised that you are nothing more than a little peon peasant, not worth your shit off your boot? You're just a means to an end. That's all you are. Snatched him out of prison, decided to make him an offer he couldn't refuse. And there it is, Tommy Robinson on his hands and knees. We've shown you the humiliation rituals that the Zios put him through to be in their good graces. Amazing what people will do for money and power. But he's so tiny that I don't think he could reach it if it was even hanging above his head. Oh, you almost got it. You got to be quicker than that. But Tommy's going to complain just a little bit more about his unfortunate situation.
They're going to do it again, isn't they? Fuck you know. Mental.
I spoke to him, so that's why I've taken so long to come back. This isn't anything to do with that, Rob. This is for costs, what he's taken you to court for. The first one was awarded in October 24, and then this one was the April 25.
Oh, so this is to do with my contempt of court case that I was sent to jail for.
Right, okay, so they
Nothing, that's nothing to do with Jamal then. That's nothing to do with Jamal.
Right, so all I know, this is for costs. That's what he's taking into court. That's what this case is for.
And how much are they saying I owe?
At the moment, because it will increase, at the moment it's 103,000.
£103,000 for costs?
Yeah.
And this is for the contempt of court for where I played the film, okay, about Jamal, okay. So this is for where I played the film.
If you're not able to make payment, we just have to continue with enforcement and look at any assets that you have to seize.
Hey, man, shit happens. Why don't you give Elon a call? You know, Elon wipes his ass with 103,000 pounds every day. Why don't you just give him a call? I'm sure he'd love to help you. I mean, didn't he pep up the rally back in September? Aren't you guys British chums now? I know he's from South Africa, but you're from the UK. You kind of sound alike. Why don't you give him a call? Tommy Robinson, the most abhorrent British bloke out there. But I tell you, there's a reason why the Irish would never have anything to do with you. You're a disgrace to the UK. You ought to go and live in Israel where you belong. Although we know that Israel is not going to last very long, because much like history has shown, revolution's inevitable. That's just what I wanted to put out there. How's that? Hope you guys liked it. I don't know if we got any UK people in here, but yeah, Tommy's fallen on hard times, very hard times. He's got just a little bit more to say before we depart.
It's fine. I don't have any assets. That's the thing. I have nothing.
Yes, I understand you're telling us that, but we have to have proof of that.
What a pity. What a pity. Oh, he's got assets. They're just not in his name, I'm sure. Somebody else has got them. And therein lies the rub. So that's little Tommy Robinson, wondering, what are they going to do with me? That's why I said he's a disgrace to the Irish. He wraps himself in the Union Jack instead of the orange and green. Medi's got it right. What a pity to be dumb and shitty. As I said, and I will keep saying it, and this goes And this transitions into what's happening now stateside. One moment, the Zios will love you because you do as they say. But the second you become less than useful, you're out. And there's a lot of bad that can come from that. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I try my best. But that's the lesson of Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is on his way out. It couldn't be more obvious. You go from holding a major rally of at least 100,000 people, and then the next rally you host gets 1,000. That's bad. Really terrible. No way my rallies would be that small. This is the inevitable conclusion that so many others are going to suffer. This is their fate. You see what's happening to Tommy Robinson? No one in the Zio state is coming to bail his ass out. They'll just go find somebody else in the UK to get on a soapbox and tell everybody how wonderful Israel is. Why the fuck do they need him? Who's he? Who in the fuck is Tommy Robinson? Nobody, because it's a made-up name. He's as fake as Israel. That is why the two went together. So, bon voyage, motherfucker. I don't give a shit. Just like Tommy Robinson doesn't give a shit, neither do I, and neither should anybody else. So, I would say Godspeed, but he's not even worthy of that. So, I point to Tommy Robinson for this reason. You have a lot of people here back home that are part of all different strands of the political spectrum. And when you're doing it for a career, your hands are wide open. What do you want me to say? What do I have to do? Or do I have somebody over my shoulder watching me to make sure that I say what must be said? Well, I have never covered Matt Walsh in any way, shape, or form before. Not extensively, anyway. But he decided to sit down with Tucker Carlson. Now, call me crazy, but I wouldn't necessarily think that to be the smartest move on his part, because clearly he was going to get backed into a corner. Tucker Carlson is not the person, or maybe he is, and he just had an epiphany. I can assure you that when the conversation of Israel-Palestine comes up, there's no gray area here. This is very cut and dry. You better know exactly where you stand immediately. You try to, in any way, throw shades of gray, you're a fraud and a liar and an aiding and abetting of a genocide. And so, to Tucker's credit, he did what was necessary, because there are a lot of those grifters out there, but let's be honest, Matt Walsh has a very large platform. Of all the people that are still employed by little Ben Shapiro over at the Daily Wire, Matt Walsh has the biggest platform. And there are many people demanding he give answers. What possessed him to go on with Tucker Carlson is anybody's guess. I know that's one. I don't plan on doing it again. We'll see.
Entire generation correctly to believe that slaughtering people because of how they were born is the greatest sin, which it is. I believe that. And now we're being, hoisted by our own standards. And my view is, no, standards are absolute. It's either true or it's not. And it's universally applicable or it's not a real thing. It's just it's identity politics. It's exactly what I hate. And identity politics is the kind of political expression of the worldview that you have just decried and declared war against. And God bless you for doing that. But that is in full flower on the right. And I don't want to dignify people by naming them, but people I know who call themselves like MAGA conservatives are defending the murder of innocents. And by the way, some of them suggest, well, we just move the refugees into the United States because that's good for the country that they support. But is that good for us? That's an attack on American identity. You're also describing, by the way, in a lot of ways, Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela, who we're all required to hate. And I'm not supporting him, of course. But this is like the most socially conservative country in Latin America that has banned abortion, banned gay marriage, banned gender transitions, banned usury, banned, loaning at crazy interest levels.
And there it is. If you really want to know what it's all about, and forgive me, the screen is acting glitchy. If you want to know what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty cut and dry. It is all about money and power. I am not socially conservative like Tucker Carlson. I believe he's genuine in what he believes. But I also like how he is very good at framing controversial political issues like Venezuela. Where I stand is very simple. I don't care how Tucker Carlson convinces millions of people not to support the invasion of Venezuela and stealing their natural resources, but I'll take it however which way we can get it. But he said something very interesting there. Usury is illegal in Venezuela. And I think we all know who doesn't like that. Let's keep it real. That is as good a reason as to wanting to take over that country and put in a puppet dictatorship that loves the state of Israel.
It destroys people. I don't think he's done a good job running his country. Obviously, he hasn't. But to your point that, like, we should be open to talking to people who share our most basic values, how is he not on that list? Oh, shut up, you communist. But I'm not a communist. I'm not going to be bullied by your dumb labels. Not yours, but I'm anticipating the many attacks. I have been attacked for saying that, but it's true. So what's the answer? Do you see what I'm saying? So I guess what's blowing my mind is that I thought I was speaking the same language as a lot of people that I disagreed with on the margins, like about, what's the best way to harness capitalism to help people? I mean, these are real debates. And then I realized with the war in Gaza that, like, these are people who don't believe in Western civilization, because Western civilization can be boiled down to one concept, and that's the individual. If someone does something wrong, we punish that person. We don't kill his kids. Why do we do that? Why is that our standard? Because we believe that God created every person as an individual, and every person will stand before God alone to account for his life. He's not responsible for what his children do, what his ancestors did, what his forebears might do. He's responsible for himself, because we believe in the individual soul, not the collective soul. And that's what makes our civilization unique in the history of the world. And it derives from Christianity, from the Christian belief of the individual soul.
If you believe this, if that is your foundational belief, then Tucker is correct. How could you possibly support the state of Israel? Where is the justification? We often talk about the hypocrisy of religion because so much of it is hypocritical. But when it's right in your face, when it's clear as day, how do you deny it? Tucker is willing to go places that most people are not. He can go from platforming Francesca Albanese to now platforming Matt Walsh and effectively putting him in a position where he can't win, which frankly, I don't give a shit because I don't like Matt Walsh. But this doesn't surprise me in the least. What surprises me more than anything else is, why is Matt Walsh sitting there? I would think that, I'm going to get in, well, this is strike two. Lil Ben Shapiro would never have wanted him to do this. So I would imagine he's getting a nice big strike on his holiday bonus. So we'll see what he has to say.
And I see all these people who, like, clearly don't believe that. So how are we on the same side?
Well, I think, so this is where we can be friends on the same side and disagree, because I wouldn't agree with everything you've just laid out there. I think now last time we talked a little bit about Israel, and my take at the time was I really don't care.
Right.
I just don't care. I honestly don't care.
The reason he says he doesn't care is because that would require him to have to question his boss, not going to say it, or run the risk of losing. He does have an impressive beard, I'll give him that. He runs the risk of jeopardizing his multi-millionaire career. Remember, the Daily Wire backed his movie financially, What is a Woman?, which obviously made him a lot of money. Now, if he has any plans to do anything in the future, those plans could disappear overnight. And in this case, when he says, I don't care about Israel, he doesn't care about humanity. He's showing you right there that my career, my money, is infinitely more important than whether or not you perceive me as being a religious hypocrite, of which he is an abhorrent religious hypocrite. I don't care about Israel. No shit, Sherlock.
I want that take bad.
Yeah.
I don't want to care. I don't want anything to do with this.
That's still my take. That's always been my take. It upsets people on both. This is one legitimately on both sides of the Israel issue. People get mad at me for that because they say that, well, if they're very pro-Israel, they say, well, you're being a coward and you need to stand up and support Israel and talk about how Israel's our greatest, most important ally and all this stuff. But then another side, very much, it's, well, no, Israel's the great Satan. They're the most evil country in the world.
Right.
They're responsible for everything bad that happens.
You know, if you really wanted to have a little bit of fun here, guys, what you really want to do is clip what Matt Walsh just said and say, hey, did you hear what Matt Walsh said about the state of Israel? He finally told the truth. I'm just saying. When you say take things out of context, that would be one to have a little fun with.
And which is something that I think some people legitimately really do believe at some level.
A lot of people believe that,
right? And so then they say to me, well, you need to stand up and say and say that. And again, my response to that is, first of all, don't tell me what to say. Okay, I have my own mind.
Amen.
So don't tell me what to say. I will say what I want to say, and I can only speak from my own opinion. This is my view, and I think. And we'll get back to it, but not to get sidetracked. This is one thing, by the way, that's making political conversation in this country impossible, is that all anyone ever does anymore is impugn the motives behind the argument that you're making. So you make an argument, and then everyone goes, well, you're only saying that because... And it's like, first of all, even if it's true that I'm making this argument for some dishonest reason, well, is the argument right or not?
It's wrong. The only reason you're saying what you're saying, and what the hell, it's because Ben Shapiro doesn't want you talking about this. Yeah. I'm telling you, he's in his room right now, trying to hit the speed bag, and the speed bag keeps kicking his ass. You don't care? Well, you're going to care eventually.
And that I almost never, ever talked about Israel. And when I did talk about it, on the rare, like once every 5 years, if it came up, my take was, I don't really care about this. I don't care about this country. It's not my country. If you're in America, if you're an American politician, you should care about America first. And that's it. That's always been my take. So that's always been my take.
By the way, me too, believe it or not, up until the last year, I don't, in 35 years, I don't think I've talked about Israel 10 times. So here's the point. It's not actually about Israel. It's about the components of the American right.
Right.
Who are defending mass murder, and I mean that murder, killing people who didn't do anything wrong, in Gaza.
Well,
That's it. It's not Israel. It's what about the parts of this coalition that, as you noted, Charlie really did keep together, that are now fracturing. But one of the reasons they're fracturing is because they have different views, different worldviews, and that is obvious when you hear how they respond to the murder of like kids and women in Gaza. So it's Americans responding to that. Are you really conservative? How are you not the leftist that you just described if you're like, well, they're basically all Hamas, including the kids? That is collective punishment. That's blood guilt. That's the opposite of what you described. How can I be on the same side as someone with that attitude?
Well, here's what I would say. I think that if somebody is making the argument that we or Israel can kill as many Palestinians as they want, can kill children because their lives have no value, because they're Palestinian. If you're making that argument, then that is a leftist argument.
Exactly. It's a leftist argument.
However, I think that there are plenty of people who would defend and have defended Israel's actions in Gaza, and even our involvement, which I don't agree with us being involved at all, but people have had that view. But not on that basis. What they would say is, they would say, oh, well, it's not true that they're killing children. It's not, or it's really tragic, but it's there's no other way to fight the war. It's not intentional. We're actually targeting the terrorists, and these are casualties that happen like in any war. It's very bad. You try to minimize them, but we don't want that to happen. They could say, there's many arguments along those lines. Just also arguments that just kind of reject the premise. Like your premise is that they're doing mass murder of people in Gaza.
Well, he finally said something that actually made sense. They are doing mass murder in Gaza, and you took almost 2 minutes to not concur with what Tucker is saying, but to, once again, not offend your boss, because in the end, your career, your ability to make money, your ability to grift is the most important thing in your world, no matter how many people have to suffer. And this whole idea that, I don't care about Israel. Well, you know what? It would be easy not to also, it would clearly be easy not to care about Israel if they didn't have a substantial intertwined relationship with our country. Israel is us and we are them. So when you say you don't care, you do care. You care enough not to talk about it, because if you did not go along with the America First movement, you're finished. But you also know that if you do not go along with what your Zio scumbag of a boss preaches, you're finished too. So you really are stuck. You can't win no matter what you do, and that's a good thing. You made millions of dollars by making the trans issue a major political talking point for like 3 years. You got to be fucking kidding me. And that's not to say that I'm on board with the trans movement, because I'm not. But you decided to make a movie about it for the purpose of making money. And when the question of you want to say I'm honest about the way that I feel about this particular topic, of which it has a micro fracture of an impact on our daily lives compared to the state of Israel, and you don't have one fucking thing to say about them, you are a coward. You're a cuck and a coward. How's that? As Jen says, a perfectly wasteful use of a good beard. Maybe he is a beard. You never know.
I think that there are conservatives who would just reject that premise and say that's not actually happening.
Okay, but if you I think the undisputed fact there are tens of thousands, 70,000, we can certainly say tens of thousands of women and children killed in Gaza. And so there are really two arguments you can make. One is that that happens in war, collateral damage, which is true. It's 100% true that always happens in war. It hasn't happened at this scale in 80 years, but in the West, but it does happen, and the United States has done a lot of it. We dropped the atom bombs, okay? So, Israel's not the only country that's done this. But what are you sad about it? Do you think it's bad? Would you be willing to say, holy shit, I can't believe we killed 70,000 non-combatants? That's the acid test. Can you admit that that's horrible? It's horrible. It's a moral crime. It was a moral crime when we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. And it's not even a close call in my view.
And he's not willing to answer it. So like I said, I don't know what possessed Walsh to go on with him. It really wasn't a situation where he could win in any way. This was a lose-lose proposition. And sure, if Tucker Carlson gives you a call and says, hey, I'd really like to have you on the show, let's talk about X, Y, and Z, he has to know ahead of time that this is an issue that's going to come up. He could say no and say, look, I'm in a lose-lose situation. Do I think that Matt Walsh is truly on board with what's going on in Gaza and is fully on board with the state of Israel? No, I don't. His body language, the way he talks about it. Thank you, Fetish Magic. Appreciate it. No, I don't think Matt Walsh is on board with this. But if you're not, then you have an obligation, not just as a Christian, but as a humanitarian. If you truly care about humanity, as you cared as much as you did about the trans issue, how in the ever-loving F do you not say something about this? Are you that incompetent? Or are you that much of a scaredy cat? Ben Shapiro's the person that scares you? Do you feel that you don't have the capability to venture out on your own, start your own channel, and do what we're doing right now? I'd be hard-pressed to think that you wouldn't have that ability, but perhaps you've gotten so used to a certain lifestyle that you've gotten so used to a certain amount of income that you're not willing to bet on yourself that you could do it on your own. We all know that Michael Knowles is not capable of doing it on his own. But a lot of people think you would be capable. So it is surprising to watch him sit there, sort of roundabout say what needs to be said, but he won't say it. He just won't. And in many ways, that makes him worse. Because in the end, you'll be remembered for what you did during the hard times, not the soft times. And at a time like this, where it is as hard and as bad as it could ever be for just about everybody, speaking truth to power is as important as anything if you're going to enact that change. Tucker Carlson buried him without even attempting to do it. He just let him hang himself, essentially. That's what he did. Tucker's I keep telling you guys, he's a very shrewd operator. He knows exactly what he's doing. And I tip my hat. I do. And I look at all the other people, recognizing what's going on and thinking, does anybody have courage? I don't know. I think about people that are on the left side of politics, populist left, and who's really out there using their platform to say what needs to be said. All too often, I see people that are considered part of the populist left, and all they want to do is just constantly talk about, oh, we need to get the Democrats back in power because that's what's going to save our problems. No, they'll just make them worse, because then people will be reminded of why they wanted a populist radical change in the first place. You didn't get it with Trump, but somebody's going to get it. I don't know how, but we are heading down a road where something revolutionary is coming. We know it. How do you not see it? And by the way, speaking of labor power, if you guys are not familiar with More Perfect Union, they just did a fantastic piece. One of the gentlemen that we're friendly with was over in Italy and shows the power of the co-op. Again, not socialism, but labor power. How do you collectively bargain? How do you work together to build up your ability to get the wages you need to live that middle-class life that I would think most of us desire. And all the while, eating some great cheese. We've got almost 1,700 people watching. Only 780 have smashed that like button. If you would be so kind, please smash it. We really appreciate any and all support that this channel is offering. If you are so inclined, which we hope you are, please consider going over to patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. I believe, in accordance with our chat, we did just pass 97,000 subscribers, which is, again, unbelievable. But can't thank you all enough for this incredible support. As of right now, we are at 97,063. We are aiming for that trophy at 100,000 subscribers, of which we are less than 3,000 away. Jen and I are both of the mind that a week from Monday, we will likely hit it when we have our winter solstice. Lots of wonderful guests are going to be showing up. So you're definitely going to want to tune in for that. We will be airing our grievances, talking about all these wonderful issues, but not us necessarily, all the wonderful guests that will be showing up. And so a big shout out to Good Vibes Only 1111. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Very much appreciated. Jim Talib with the $5. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it as always. And not to be outdone, Piano Man with his $10 super sticker. We appreciate you being here, my friend. Mind Wide Open 6533 with the $2. They are trying to make Zionism equal anti-Semitism. They've been trying that for a while, but the good news is that that's not working anymore, at least not the way that it used to. And it is incumbent upon us to distinguish the difference between Judaism and Zionism. All of us are responsible for making sure that the distinction is made. You know who benefits from saying that it's a Jew problem, ladies and gentlemen? The Zionists. That's who want it that way. So keep that in mind when we're trying to build coalitions to break the Zio state. Keep that in mind. Willie Bragg, a pleasure as always. Thank you for the $5. Thank you for referring to Ben Shapiro as Ben Shitpiro. Is there any other way? And the second Trump presidency is the Bush-Cheney era part 2 on steroids. Pure neocon evil. Can't argue with you, brother. Can't argue with you at all. And yes, subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show. Judith Ann Campbell with the $10. Thank you very much. I am a pro-life Catholic, and I find it totally repugnant that Matt Walsh doesn't care about the children being slaughtered in Gaza. He has no right to call himself pro-life or Christian. He only does that because it pays the bills and allows him to live a very luxurious lifestyle. That's a fact. Lemon Lou with the $10, supporting your work, Peter. Thank you very much, Lou. Really appreciate it. Miss Capri 88 with the $20. Thank you for sharing the truth about all of this scandalous BS. I love your show, and we need more brave and bold people like you and Candace that tell it like it is. You're awesome. We appreciate you being here, Miss Capri. Thank you so very, very much. Kimiko with the $4.99. Peter and Jen almost at 100K. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. Who knows what could happen? We all know that the Google algorithm acts in very mysterious ways. It could come at us 9, maybe even 10 ways to Sunday. We'll see. We appreciate the support. Excelsius, Ecclesiastes with the $10. Appreciate your work so much. Ecclesiastes. Okay, thank you, Thesaurus lady. Appreciate it. Donna Nichols with the $10. New subscriber and loving your channel, especially back in Candace. Like I said, at the end of the day, if you want to enact change, you will lock arms with people that you may not agree with 100% across the board, may not even agree with 50%. But if they're right on the core issues that matter most, especially in this moment, you lock arms. End of discussion. No opinion with the $5. I see what you did there, buddy. Shalom Shabbat, whatever that means. Well, you have it backwards. It's Shabbat Shalom, and that's actually on Fridays. We'll get to that shortly. Don't worry. But one more time, you took that away. Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes. Okay. Thanks, Teresa. And again, one more time, patreon.com/revolutionary change. Thank you very, very much so far for the evening for your amazing support. And as we mentioned earlier, we are also on Rumble, Revolutionary Change on Rumble. We are Revolutionary Change now on Instagram, TikTok, and X. And most importantly of all, as you can see, I don't know if it's over there, but wherever it is, the QR code, take out your phones, guys, scan that QR code, and check out revolutionarychangepack.org. You want to help us end the Zio state? We're making some moves. We hope you'll support us. We really appreciate it. And so, where does this take us now? When we talk about these sort of cowardly behaviors that we've seen from so many, and we've seen a lot, I can't help but think that one of the main drivers behind the support or lack thereof or questioning when it comes to Erika Kirk, we all have to ask ourselves, is this central casting? What exactly is it? All I know is that when I see her, I don't believe her. From the moment I saw her give her speech right after Charlie was assassinated and thought it was very gratuitous, questionable, but then she slipped in the line about those who did this. Not Tyler Robinson. Of course, the patsy was picked out of a hat right away. They knew immediately who they were going to pin this on because everyone was asking a lot of questions. This is raw power and a lot of money. And if you question it, you get out of line, you're on the chopping block. And that's what happened. Pretty clear as far as I can see. But man alive, I got to tell you, I don't know why they keep letting her go out and make these statements. They look really stupid. And she looks like a fool because I don't know who objectively, and I'm using that word in bold capital letters, objectively, who is buying the bullshit that Erika Kirk is selling.
Reminds me so much of chapter 6 in the book of Nehemiah. He is building a wall, and the townspeople are at the base of that hill saying, Nehemiah, calling him all these names, saying all these things, come on down. Every single time he had the same message 4 times in a row. I cannot come down. I am busy building. That
building what exactly? What are you building? You've already been given $140 million is the number that has been floated that they have brought in since Charlie's assassination. Now, I would be very curious to know who is exactly the people bringing in that money, where it's coming from. I would suspect that some very questionable characters are funding the organization. You can't see it in this picture. I don't know if I have it, but we know why Erika is here on Fox News. First and foremost, to sell a book. Stop in the Name of God is what it's called. And of course, to shit on Candace Owens.
That is how I feel. I do not have time to address the noise. My silence does not mean that I am complacent. My silence does not mean that somehow Turning Point USA and all of the handpicked staff that loved my husband and my husband loved them is somehow in on it. We are busy building. And you know what I thought? I thought these people are human. We are all grieving in our own way. And they are trying to find the answer to something that happened that was so evil. They are trying so hard. And I get that. We're doing the same. Anytime we hear a lead or anytime we hear anything, we send it to the authorities. Please dig into this. No rock will be unturned.
Well, if that is the case and she is telling the truth, I don't believe she's telling the truth. You would think that quite a few of the missing in action items that doesn't want to get talked about, maybe she might want to address them publicly. Or again, is this central casting and she has been told what she can and can't say? For a person who peddles a book and says Shabbat Shalom, I got to tell you, it's not a good look. So no one is going to buy into the 30-06 shot. No one is going to buy that only one person did this. No one is going to buy that you now are not aware that spy planes have been following you around, supposedly from Egypt, for the past year or two. Again, this is just scratching the surface. This isn't even really digging in. Candace digs in even deeper. But this, again, is a deflection. This isn't about addressing the problem. You will not be able to make this go away. This is completely out of your control now. Now more than ever. Now more than ever, there is no sweeping this under the rug. How'd you meet Charlie? Who set you up? Where did it happen? Why did it happen? Again, just asking questions.
I want justice for my husband, for myself, for my family, more than anyone else out there. So for me, you want to keep telling me to come down while we're building? I don't have time for that. But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode.
140 million is the last count since Charlie's assassination is what Turning Point USA has brought in. But sure. Yeah, Candace is the grifter.
Going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this. No.
You know, I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. Yes, I believe in our judicial system.
Clearly, if you have to choke on that word, then you really don't believe in it because you don't even know what it means. Clearly, you are trying to subvert the judicial process by sweeping as much evidence under the rug as possible. You know, kind of like how they swept up the crime scene. Yeah, that doesn't get talked about. Why would it? The grift. Keep exposing it.
I do. We have a hell of a team working on this, excuse my French. But this is not okay.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in. But just know that your words are very powerful and we are human. My team are not machines and they're not robots. They are human. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. I have, you name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted. And every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do? Relive that trauma all over again? They watched my husband get murdered. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I was there that day. And thank the good Lord that I did not have to see that happen. But my team, they are rocked to the core. So why every single day do they have to be dragged through the mud, analyzed, hyper-analyzed?
Because they're guilty as sin. That's why. They wear it on their face. Andrew Kolvet, I don't know what crime he committed, but he has the most guilty face you will ever see. And he's just one of many. Rob McCoy with his sermons. All of these people, opportunistic to a fault. When the gravy train is available, but then it's threatened, you don't think that the word goes around that the coup is going to be commenced? Just act natural and everything will be fine? Trust me, when you already are sociopathic, narcissistic in your disposition, Yeah, it's unfortunate, Charlie, but we got a lifestyle to maintain. And boy, oh boy, does Erika have a lifestyle to maintain.
Are you concerned about being able to have a jury that's not been tainted?
No, it's a real thing, Glenn, and you get this. A lot of people don't, and I think that we need to do a better job of educating our citizens about our court systems. A lot of people don't know how an actual trial plays out. I am very curious about how the United Healthcare case plays out.
Are you? Well, my guess is that making a statement to that effect is somebody who clearly wants to see Luigi Mangione put away forever. Now, assuming that he even had anything to do with it, I'm not 100% sure about that, but let's just assume that he does. I suppose you have a lot more sympathy for the person who probably has as many as, I don't know, a few 100,000 dead people under his fingernails because he did it with a fountain pen at United Health. Mangione does it once in public with an actual gun, and that makes him the worst criminal. No, guys, that's not how it works. Murder is murder. And our health system, the only for-profit health system in the developed world, that's a fact. We kill anywhere from 70 to 100,000 of our citizens every year from lack of health coverage. I'd say that's a problem. But Erika, not only is she trying to sweep the Charlie Kirk story under the rug, she is also showing what a good, loyal foot soldier for corporate special interests she is too. Why not? She's already living the high life. Do you see the diamond-encrusted rings that she wears every time she's in front of the camera? Big pimpin', baby. Big pimpin'.
We are living in a day and age where social media can absolutely impact. I feel it can. The reason I say that is because I don't want a tainted jury pool. I want justice for my husband. Anytime we have leads, anytime we hear anything, we send it to the authorities. We're not messing around. None of us are involved in my husband's murder.
Okay. A couple of things. Number one, I don't want a tainted jury pool. You mean you don't want anyone asking questions. You want the open and shut case. You want the patsy, also known as Tyler Robinson, to go down for this crime, and that is the end. Hook, line, sinker. You stare directly into a camera and say, me and my staff had nothing to do with this. To even have to dignify that and say and make such a statement, it reeks of guilt, subconscious guilt, whatever it is. You are a terrible actress. You are a terrible liar. You are a terrible person. It's obvious. And this is not even digging into your parents or what you did overseas. Apparently, your involvement with trafficking. You have the angry look of a person who got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. You're not supposed to see me doing this. Well, we see you. And we will not unsee it.
None of us. Turning Point USA, myself, any of these other crazy accusations, none of us.
It's those little things where, again, he would walk through the door, drop his bags, Daddy's home, take his phone, Friday night, Shabbat Shalom.
I mean, you have got to be kidding me. You are going to tell me that after all the released conversations about where Charlie stood on Israel, and now you have Erika Kirk sitting in Fox News's studio in New York, saying Shabbat Shalom for the camera. Are you fucking kidding me? Who's coaching these people? Because whoever's doing it, it's almost like they're trying to make them look guilty. Because that's what this looks like. This looks like a guilt-ridden, mentally broken individual who just wants to live a very luxurious, comfortable life, knows that she has to play up for the cameras for a little while, and hope it all just goes away. Oh, and support Israel and their genocide at the same time, too. Don't forget about that one. That's important to remember as well.
Throw it in the junk drawer, and it was just all us. And that's what I always wanted to make so special for him, was coming home. I'd always say, baby, I don't care what time you get home. Home is here for you. Your food will never be cold. It might sit out for a little bit, but I'll reheat it. It's fine. And I just want to encourage spouses, don't get mad. It's so easy.
You know, if we were living in the Chris Farley, Phil Hartman, Jerry O'Terry, Molly Shannon age of SNL, this would have been parodied already. How could it not be? Dabbing your eyes with the probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands in diamond-crusted gold on your person. The jokes write themselves. They just do. Sorry, but it's true.
Easy. Don't do it.
The podcaster Candace Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's, at one time, an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge amount of money on it. She is building her business.
Objection, Your Honor, leading the witness. You know, the great thing about the takeover by the Zio state of our corporate media, because that's what it is, it's just going to accelerate to its inevitable demise. This is not news. This is propaganda. You know, at least there is propaganda news, but this is not any of that. This is just straight propaganda. That look. Ooh, if looks could kill, let me tell you, seared in pain. She's looking right through Candace's soul. She's going to snatch that soul.
Off of these lies. What do you want to say to her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now?
Stop.
Or else, what are you going to do? It's a very sinister look. I got to tell you, really captures it perfectly with the cross around her neck. Spawn of Satan, maybe? You know, they never said the Antichrist didn't have to be a woman. I'm just saying. But that's a perfect screenshot. Again, they needed to do a better job of prepping her. But in the end, I guess she's just not that good of a seller of this bullshit. Who knows?
That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop. But we serve a just God.
That seems pretty evil if you ask me. You're getting in the way of our plans. Get out of the way of our plans. We've got money to make. We have souls to capture. In more ways than one. I've got a very wealthy bank account, and I will not allow you to fuck with it. And this is the truth about so much about what we see today. If you get in the way of somebody's bread, they'll come at you with everything they have, especially if they're evil and sinister. It's in the eyes. Jen has always said, the eyes don't lie. The eyes will tell you exactly what's going on. In her eyes are on fire. Looks could kill. and hers could certainly do that. And if she can't do it with her eyes, she could do it with her pocketbook and just have somebody do the deed. Now, I'm not suggesting that she will, but I am suggesting that she's hiding something. I've been saying it since day one. Whatever she's hiding, it's not good. And I don't know who's going to question her about it. I'm building, I'm prospering. You're not doing anything. You're playing a role. Is anybody with a sizable platform besides Candace Owens going to confront this woman? Or is everybody else going to fall in line and just give her her flowers and tell her that she's done nothing wrong? She's a grieving widow. Don't question the grieving widow. Mind your P's and Q's. Do as you're told, or else. I have been trying to warn each and every one of you that while I think Nick Fuentes is an exceptionally talented politico, which he is, he's also not everything you think he is. And he'll change his tune regardless of the situation if it suits the narrative that whoever is handling him wants him to say. How do I know this? Because he commented on this.
At Erika and I look at the crew, and you could just say this objectively. And you know me, I'm anti-Candace at this point.
For what purpose? What is the purpose of being anti-Candace? You know, people think he's in love with her, and maybe he is, whatever the hell it is. But right off the bat, you're saying, oh, I don't trust Candace, so this is my excuse to support Israel, of which he has stated on Piers Morgan that he shares their politics. I don't know how many more signs you want, but he's making it pretty clear.
I think she is a horrible, disgusting human being. I think what she is doing is wicked and selfish and reckless, and I think it's setting us back 5 years, and I think she's a complete idiot, and I think she's wrong. That being said, as an objective outside observer, as somebody that is not directly involved in this, Turning Point is getting their asses kicked. Their performance is poor, and they are losing. And I don't even know that I want them to win, but I definitely think that Candace needs to be taken down a peg.
So your way of taking Candace down a peg is supporting Turning Point USA. So it's not that you really like Turning Point, it's that you really hate Candace so much that you will let bygones be bygones and lock arms with the pro-Israel Turning Point USA. It doesn't add up. Do you know why it doesn't add up, ladies and gentlemen? Because again, this is a grift. This is a career. And I love what I do. Jen loves what she does. You know why we love this? Because we are not bought and paid for by anybody. We could say whatever the fuck we want. And that's the beauty of this channel. We may not have the audience the size of Nick Fuentes or Turning Point USA or Mount Walsh. But what we have is our integrity and our honesty. And that's worth a hell of a lot more. So while Nick can have some salient points about a number of critical issues and also be a total fuck up on others, this one, there is no gray area. It is pretty clear that when you get pushed up to a wall on a certain point, you will find out who is really fighting for the cause and who's fighting for the bank account. If you truly care about this country and where it's headed, Nick Fuentes is not taking you to the promised land. In fact, he's going to take you to one of two places. He's going to take you to a dead end, or he's going to take you to hell. But either way, this false prophet is very good. In fact, he's as good as I've seen. You know why? Because unlike Erika Kirk, he's very convincing. He's very good at what he does. That's good. But he's very convincing. He can turn on a dime faster than a fucking race car. He knows exactly what to say to one side of his mouth and then what to say to the other. Is he a Fed? I don't know. Could be. But I don't need to know if he's a Fed. I just know I don't trust him. And neither should you.
So I say that as somebody that's in a way sort of rooting for them, in at least on some level rooting for them to defeat some of the allegations. So anyway, so I saw this from Erika Kirk. She comes out crying. And then I see a video from Candace Owens. She jumps on Instagram and she films her big, fat, stupid black head. And she goes, yeah, it's about me.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. For those who think he's not a bigot, who gives a fuck if she's black? And I'll tell you, this also puts politics in a good perspective, particularly if you're looking at the differences between whether you're left or right, and I am neither. But let's just assume that this was the conversation that Nick Fuentes was having about some influential black woman who happened to be a Democrat. Well, we all know what you would hear from the liberal podcasters. He's a racist. He gave a black woman a really hard time, blah, 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 blah. Instead of getting to the core problem here, which is he's denying that Candace Owens is telling the truth. He's accusing her of being a liar. Why he feels the need to point out that she's black, hateful fuck, that's what comes out. And he has his own hangups, whatever they may be. But in this case, his hatred of Candace Owens, to me, it's jealousy. 1,000%. And I'll tell you, it's very interesting because Candace is exceptional at what she does, but so is Nick. So it's almost like a competition of sorts. That's the only thing that makes sense. He makes a lot of money. A lot. Like, if he made 7 figures, it wouldn't surprise me. And yet, the things that he wants to poke at, he's doing himself a disservice, but he's also exposing himself in ways that he generally has been pretty good at protecting. And he is allowing Candace Owens to live rent-free in his head. You know why? Candace never talks about him, ever. Good for her.
They didn't say it's about me, but it's about me. It's about me. And I don't know how you look at this person and are not filled with disgust, especially as a man. If you're a woman, I get it. I think that women are easily manipulated. And I think that women tend to be suckers for things like this.
This is coming from a guy who really knows a thing or two about women. Let me tell you. That guy is a regular Lothario. Only Lotharios could possibly know. Am I right? Like I said, he is apparently 27, but he acts 17. And he looks 12.
I don't understand how any man could look at that Instagram video she posted and not be overwhelmed with disgust. She goes live on Instagram or on her story and she goes, yeah, it's about me. They don't say it's about me, but it's about me and it's all about me and it's me, me, me. And she's giddy.
Does anybody doubt for a single solitary second that this Turning Point USA counter narrative is all directed at Candace Owens? All right, maybe not 100%, but let's just say there is no one out there having a greater impact on exposing Israel's involvement, on exposing the break within our own system, better than her. Who else besides Tucker Carlson? Nobody. There is nobody. Cenk and Anna at the Young Turks, they're probably doing as much as anybody. Jimmy, there's a few, but not many. And no one with that reach. So yeah, this is jealousy. Pure and simple.
She is lit up like one of these Christmas trees. She's lit up. Her expression is bright. They're talking about me, 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 me. It's all about me. She goes, and I'm going to go live and I'm going to talk about what they said about me. You can read it on her face. She literally could not be happier. She is elated. It is orgasmic. It is orgiastic. Exuberance.
Yeah, just making up words as he goes along. You know, I only clipped this part, but there is another part of this clip where he says that Tim Pool is right. Yes, you heard that right. He says that Tim Pool has it right.
That she was directly attacked by Erika Kirk. And you want to know why? Because she knew that when she went live today, everybody was going to be watching to see the counter. Because that's what this is now. That's what this is. It is a soap opera. It is a big soap opera. It is a serial.
And you're in the middle of it, young man. But what you're proving is that when push comes to shove, you will not go where the mission takes one. Now, there are people who believe that the reason he doesn't is because he's been threatened. If that were the case, then wouldn't the same be true for Cenk and Anna? Their platform is probably pretty comparable to Nick's. Wouldn't the same be true for Candace, although the suspicion is that she is protected? The same with Tucker. Again, there is no rhyme or reason to this end. They've all come out in unison, all of them, with very rare exceptions. Keep an eye on the ones who did not fall in line and say, Turning Point USA is great, Erika Kirk is a grieving widow and a strong woman, and Candace Owens is a terrible human being. There is but a few that have actually come out and truly defended Candace Owens, that have a medium like this. Now, granted, we're in a very fortunate position. We've been hovering near 2,000 live viewers this evening. So, you know, we're a minor player in this, but a minor one at that. In terms of people that really have the pull and that can create the type of change that you want to see, there's not many out there that are willing to say what needs to be said. Now, we'll say, because again, like I said, this is not our living, but we know we're making an impact. They have called the cops on us. So Nick is not the only one. And the one thing we like to do on our channel is have continuity in our conversation. We want to make sure that people understand that there is always a connection to all of these. Now, I'm sure those of you that have been watching on social media, you have been seeing all of these accounts. I don't have to specify any one in particular, because as far as I'm concerned, much like the shit lib posters on the Democratic side, you got the same thing on the conservative Inc. side. You get your marching orders and you get in line. End of discussion. Now, you thought the shit that Matt Walsh said earlier was bad? This might be worse.
And it was clear to me then, and has become all the more clear to me since, as I've gotten to know her more, that this is somebody with an immense amount of strength and courage. So when people look at Erika and say, she's acting strange, I've never seen a grieving person act this way. Well, I agree. She's an exceptional person in an extraordinary situation, handling it with remarkable poise and dignity. That is a virtue, and virtue is a strange thing in our day. And even if she were not an impressive person, she would still be a grieving widow. She would still be my friend's wife. And I would still feel duty-bound to support her, as I have over these past 3 months in ways both public and not. So what I am asking everybody, including Candace, is to please leave this woman alone. Let her grieve. Let her pick up the pieces of her shattered life in
and get $140 million in the process.
Whatever way she sees fit. She deserves that grace. And we owe it to her. Not because of any specific debt, not because we have no right to question her. Of course, we do have the right. But we have a moral obligation as children of our Heavenly Father to be charitable and kind towards suffering widows.
Except the Palestinians who are getting mass murdered by the hundreds of thousands in the desert. Am I right, Matty boy? Am I right?
Especially the widow of a man that all of us on the right say that we respected and admired. All told, the tragic reality is that 3 months after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the leftists who want us dead are more emboldened than ever.
Still going with that talking point, Matt. Is that true? You're still going with the leftists want to kill us. That's the answer. Do not get caught up in these bullshit talking points. It's just a distraction. You are not being gunned down by Confederate flag waving conservatives or purple-haired hippie liberals. No, you're being gunned down by the powers that be. That's what's happening. And Matty is all the more willing to share those talking points if it allows him to stay in the good graces of the high-paying position that he so desperately wants to keep.
They are thrilled. And that was always the worst possible outcome. It's a trajectory that, if it continues, could destroy not only what Charlie built, but also what's left of the conservative movement. A movement that is the only thing standing between Western civilization and the forces that wish to tear it down brick by brick. That's the reason sociopaths like Tyler Robinson are smiling right now.
So he is now going with the talking point that it is Tyler Robinson. So there you go. The cat's completely out of the bag now. Not even a slight deviation from the talking point, but a direct corporate bought and paid for talking point. Tyler Robinson did the deed. I'm going along with it. Pay me my money down. That's it. So for any of you in the audience that leans conservative and maybe like Matt Walsh, maybe agree with him on the trans issue, whatever the case may be, just know he's a grifting fuck. End of discussion.
They're winning, and we cannot let them, which means we all must return to the facts, to the truth, and our defense of it, which is the mission that Charlie lived for and died for. We cannot let it die with him.
I am going to remind you people that I've often said that Charlie was the best grifter I ever saw. Now, that doesn't mean that he didn't believe what he was preaching, but he was really good at getting millions of people to buy in, even if the people around him were full of shit. And how do I know? Well, this clip I distinctly remember from the summer shortly before he was killed.
Let me ask a question. If we were to remove, like if people said what Tucker said is anti-Semitic, I don't hold that view. But it's like a lot of people on Twitter are like calling us out and like, whatever. That's not going to happen. But if we were to cancel Tucker, would anti-Semitism increase or decrease?
I think increase, because that means any supporter of Tucker Carlson's statement therefore makes them anti-Semite.
Guilt and association, 100%.
Exactly.
But the binary that's presented is that if you don't passionately talk about it, you are a hater. That's probably destructive for everybody involved. So for me, I'm trying to find this new path, which is, I love Israel. I visited there. My wife and I had the best experiences ever. I saw where Jesus rose from the dead and he walked on water. But also, I'm an American.
Okay. Now, you know how I was saying earlier about how looks could kill? And I am very clear about that talking point. There is something about Andrew Kolvet that is right there in the eyes. It's right there. Like I said, I don't know if he was involved. I can't prove it because I'm not involved, but I know this much. This is the person who we have covered before, where we said there's something ain't right about him. And the way he looks at Charlie, especially talking about Israel, how do you not suspect that something's going on? Wouldn't it be obvious at this point that some type of an investigation would need to commence if we were living in a just world? I would think so. But there is no justice. Not yet, anyway. So when you see people constantly coming down on Candace, just know there are people like Kolvet who are not all that they seem to be. Like I said, I don't know how he's involved, but I know whatever he's been sharing. And I saw somebody say that in the chat that apparently he was responsible for sharing the text messages. And again, that might all be well and true. Andrew Kolvet is the person who wrote the letter saying that Charlie Kirk, because he was a healthy eater, stopped a 30-06 from piercing through his neck. He's the one who wrote it. Don't get fooled. Just see what I see. You know what I see? I see a person who's not telling the truth, whatever that may be. I don't know what the truth is, but I know whatever he's saying, that's not it.
So I'm an American, and I represent a generation that can't afford anything, and that we are like flooded with illegals, and no one speaks English, and our hospitals are clogged. I think we need to have the prudence to reject the Jew hate. Like, okay, we're not going to put up with that. That's dumb. But also, if you call everyone an anti-Semite, if they don't take a puritanical view of the Netanyahu government, then I think it's bad for everybody.
So would you guys all basically safe to say welcome us not talking about Israel nearly as much?
Yes.
100%.
Every day.
A cope that is...
And leave it to Mr. Kolvet to say, hey, can we stop talking about Israel? I really don't want to talk about that. That's not good for business. We know who butters our bread. Charlie, don't overthink it. Just move on. Move along.
Often found in broken institutions. And I found this now over 13 years. It's a great truism. You guys can learn it for the rest of your life. Anybody that tells you we have a messaging problem, you should go a step deeper and ask another question. Being like, what, are you actually doing something wrong? Or are you bad at messaging it? Because people that are doing bad stuff will sometimes be like, well, we're just not presenting it correctly. Sometimes that's true. Or sometimes there actually might be something beneath the surface that you're not doing well. So do you guys think that it's a messaging problem, or that it's a like an actual material concept problem.
It's a values and priorities problem.
Yeah, it's definitely a messaging problem. These politicians, they don't need to be car salesmen. You know, we need the truth, we need the direct truth, and nothing but the truth. But these politicians, they're not truthful. You know, they're digging Gen Z down in the dirt.
Who represents you best outside of Trump?
And on that note, Charlie, unfortunately, that's the grift. Who best represents you? Trump? No, that's not true. We all know that. But there is a lot of truth to what they are talking about. And I got to tell you, these kids are all right. Even if they are conservative, socially, economically, they know something's wrong. And that's good. And you know what? A lot of them are scared. And I get it. What we have is each other. And putting differences aside is a very hard reality to come to terms with. It is very easy, especially for the youth, to be susceptible to the musings of somebody like Fuentes. You can't fall for it. Our obligation is to show them that that future that we seek is possible. Why do you think we push for single-payer healthcare as hard as we do? There are people who still think single-payer healthcare is government-run healthcare and not government-funded. There is a difference. Huge difference. Huge. You want to talk about economic freedom? You know, I constantly hear about how we're 38 trillion in the hole. That's a conversation for another day. Do you know that a single-payer healthcare system would save us $500 billion in costs alone every single year? The changes we seek, they're right in front of us. It's not that complicated. But there is a lot of money on the table for a lot of grifting individuals. That's how it works. We have to be better at not getting distracted. That's our job.
Well, thank you. That's very
I
kind.
don't do that just for the sake of it either. I mean, you're here involving us for a reason because we are the important group. We're going to inherit all of these issues. So
no, again, the reason I'm doing this is that the reason we're doing this focus group, and Andrew will attest, I've been trying to tell them that there is an earthquake coming on this issue and in the country, and they don't believe me. So I'm like, why don't you just hear it from people themselves?
He's right. And again, to his credit, when he was alive, he never ran away from a conversation, even if it meant, in many cases, making him look like a fool, because in many times he did. But that was probably, to Charlie's credit, probably his greatest gift. These people that are now in control, they don't want any conversation, not even a little bit. They just want the money. Perhaps because they know that the organization is going to fail. And much like the system, they're content to see it fall apart. But what, if any, is going to prove that we were right? I'll tell you what. Because in the end, it all comes full circle to why I feel an obligation to back up Candace Owens. Because I am watching what people are doing to her right now. They're coming at her with everything they have. They are getting everyone in line. They are making sure that this is on the left side of politics and on the right side of politics. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Everyone who has their hands in the cookie jar of the corporate algorithm and is making money, sometimes not saying anything by omission is guilt. That's a fact. Just like Matt Walsh says, I don't want to talk about it. Oh, you don't? You don't want to talk about it? Aren't you the person that preaches Christianity? Yeah, some fucking Christian you are. As I've said, Candace and I agree on some, we disagree on much. But on this core issue, she is using her platform for all it's worth. And the key is Charlie's assassination, because it unlocks it all. Here is a person who, from the time he was young, was prepped and groomed to lead a multi-million-dollar youth-run conservative organization. Why was Charlie Kirk summoned to lead a conservative youth movement? It was in response to Obama's coalition in 2008. That's how he came on the scene. This is all about money and power, guys. That's all it's ever been about. And as soon as he decided that he wasn't useful anymore, at least in the minds of those that brought him to prominence in the first place, he had to be made an example of. And it had to be done in public so that everyone saw, clear as day, what happens to those who question the state of Israel. Well, Candace Owens, for any fault she has, is one that she doesn't have. She has guts.
To stop lying. And I would like to honor that, okay? I can only honor that if Erika is more explicit in terms of what I have lied about.
You know, for all the things that you've talked about, I don't really think you've lied about probably anything, because this is personal for you. And whatever the reasoning is, one can argue that Candace's motivation, as much as any, is because Charlie was her friend and she deeply cared for him. I believe Candace already knows who did this. I believe she is doing what she has to do to bring the public along in a very effective way. She can't just come right out and say, but she's putting the pieces together so that everyone can follow along. And she is fearless. You've got to give it to her. She doesn't care what they throw in her direction. And right now, they're throwing the kitchen sink at her. I'm sure you guys are all catching what they've been saying on social media, on the channels, even in corporate news, led by Barry Weiss. So we'll get to her in a second. This gets to the heart of how we're going to break the Zionist state. And that's why they have to do this. But she is not running away from the fight. She's running towards it.
What did I lie about? It's just incredible. There have this opportunity. The questions have been before. You could just start like going through them. Maybe they will. By the way, it's coming on Saturday. Maybe I've made a mistake somewhere and I'm happy. I want to correct that, right? I'm not interested. My goal is not to tell lies. It is obviously plausible that I have made mistakes. I've reviewed these lists that we've put together and I can't find the lie, okay? The lies that I find are coming out of Turning Point USA.
So here we go.
Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's, at one time, an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge amount of money on it. She is building her business off of these lies. What do you want to say to her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now?
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
So this is just, to me, I'm going to also let you know, they pre-recorded this. Obviously, I told you this yesterday from about 11 o'clock to 4 p.m. I have sources just everywhere, CBS News, the people that were in the audience I showed you were emailing me.
I want to pause for a second and just make a brief little interlude for our channel. As you guys can see, we are actually growing now, and we do have a little bit of an impact in the grand scheme of the conversation. So I will ask you all, if you would be so kind, if you have suggestions for our channel, whether it be guests, whether it be tips, things to talk about, particularly about these core issues, especially as it relates to Israel right now, please don't hesitate to reach out. Shoot us an email. Email Rachel at revolutionarychangenow.com. You can even email me, Peter, at revolutionarychangenow.com. I just saw admin. Email admin at revolutionarychangenow.com. So please, guys, we would appreciate any feedback, any suggestions, any guests that you think would be good for us to collaborate with. I'd love to talk to Candace. Heck, I'd even talk to Nick Fuentes. Tim, Sabby is going to be joining us the following Monday for our winter solstice. So you're going to want to tune in for that, my friend. We shall continue.
And they had to do multiple takes because Barry wanted to read a prompter. These questions were pre-submitted, okay? And I would like to respond to this loaded question. What would you like to say? The podcaster Candace Owens, and I'm not even going to address this repeat talking point about people making money, except for the people that have actually made off of all of the money, millions upon millions of dollars. But this is the new thing. It's like if you keep doing what you were already doing in podcasting or keep doing what you were already doing and doing ballistics on YouTube, if you catch a bunch of views, they want to convince you that like you wake up and you turn into a millionaire. Building her business. What are you talking about? I already had this business. I was already at the top of the charts. Okay, I said I wasn't going to talk about it. I actually did because it's so ridiculous. Okay. But she says, I'm lying. And Erika responds, and her answer to what do you want to say to the podcaster Candace Owens who is lying is stop. So Erika would like me to stop lying. And I would like to honor that. Okay. I can only honor that if Erika is more explicit in terms of what I have lied about.
You know, the big difference between Candace Owens and somebody like Matt Walsh, who has a very large platform, Candace Owens bet on herself and she won. Matt Walsh is not willing to do that as well.
What did I lie about? It's just incredible. There have this opportunity. The questions have been before. You could just start like going through them. Maybe they will. By the way, it's coming on Saturday. Maybe I've made a mistake somewhere and I'm happy. I want to correct that, right? I'm not interested. My goal is not to tell lies. It is obviously plausible that I have made mistakes. I've reviewed these lists that we've put together and I can't find the lie, okay? The lies that I find are coming out of Turning Point USA. Okay, and here are some of those lies. You know, Mikey had blood all over him. Okay, Mikey has offered that his dad was confused. I'll accept that. Well, I didn't lie about that. Rob McCoy lied. His father also said he called his father first. Maybe Rob McCoy was confused. Mikey being a hero for walking away doesn't feel honest. Charlie's neck stopping a 30-06 bullet because he ate healthy and had strong bones. It was a modern day Christian miracle. That feels like a pretty big lie. Okay. Charlie never wavered in his support for Israel was a nasty lie. Maybe Barry want to like, what do you want to say to the people that literally lied about what Charlie was living through in the last weeks of his life? Stop, Josh Hammer. Stop, Bibi Netanyahu. No, I'm sorry. Barry Weiss is here. We're not going to get to that.
By the way, Josh Hammer is Timu Ben Shapiro. If you haven't listened to him or heard of him, it's pretty bad.
Charlie was a committed evangelical who only liked Catholic architecture. Did I lie about that? Nope. Turning Point USA lied about that. And I was attacked for telling me, I'm attacked for catching the lies. We'll get to that later. That's their new method. Once first they accuse me of lying, then I prove I'm not lying. And then their strategy.
Can I just say, I think it's hysterical that our channel has gotten such a reach tonight that I'm seeing the anti-Candace comments in the chat. Now they're starting to show up. So, hey guys, that's funny. I'm on Team Candace, in case you're wondering. So why don't you shit on me a little bit? Don't go after the woman all the time. Go after the man. We could take it.
is to attack me for telling the truth and saying, how dare you reveal a personal text message to defend yourself from being called a liar. We can keep going here. Has any of this been clarified? Ben Shapiro said they never had any bad blood between them. I proved that was not true. Again, that also came from a little PR, Alex Clark pulling that move. Next page, Terrell Farnsworth was told to remove that SD card by police. That was not true. Terrell Farnsworth personally told me that was not true. Terrell removed the SD cards because people were stealing hats. Again, not what Terrell Farnsworth himself told me. And also doesn't make any logical sense, because if you're worried about theft, you would have taken the cameras and not just the SD card, particularly from the camera behind his head, as opposed to the cameras that were in front of him. Lie. Charlie established a Doge and it was not unusual. That's a lie. It wasn't unusual. Doge didn't even exist prior to Elon Musk making that a thing about government accountability. Charlie Kirk's team did not fly drones. Major lie. Brian Harpole told that lie. Brian Harpole also told a major lie when he said that the security had communicated with UVU police to secure those rooftops. That was a lie. It was actually the walkway behind. What am I getting here? What have I done here in this presentation that I lied about? Have I made mistakes along the way? Yes, I'm not perfect, and I will always adjust those mistakes. So I'm asking you to tell me what I lied about.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. Candace Owens cares more about Charlie Kirk than his own widow does. I believe that. People want to disagree, so be it. I don't know why that sped up like that. That may have been on our end, and I apologize. But obviously, there was a lot of talking points to get through there, but very poignant and seemed to be proof positive from what I can see. Again, all Candace is asking for is prove the lie. Can't even prove the lie about the airplanes. Where there's smoke, there is a hell of a lot of fire. That much we know.
Why is there not this same energy also for the feds? Because they've told some lies. We've got a list of those too. We put that together. We would like some clarity. Again, Charlie being shot with 3.6. The lover text messages, mysteriously presented without any timestamps, lying about how Tyler Robinson was arrested. They claim that he confessed and turned himself in. That's not what happened. That he was guilty. Also, the father said he was guilty. That's not what happened. Never revealed that Tyler Robinson was at the Dairy Queen following the assassination. He was throwing clothes away, as I presented to you guys in the cemetery. That's problematic to the timeline. We'd like some clarity. That's an oddity. They said Tyler Robinson was arrested wearing a maroon shirt. That actually was also not true. They said Tyler Robinson was suicidal, but also turned himself in because he was afraid of being shot by police. Those two ideas seem to be running into each other. How can both of these things be true? Did he want to die or not want to die? Maybe there's an explanation. It's definitely odd. And the footage mysteriously missing of Tyler Robinson turning himself in. And then, of course, there's just like things that we can't get answers to, which is the Egyptian planes, tracking Charlie, following Erika throughout years. Instead, they're laughing at these things. So what am I lying about? Explicitly lying about. Not made a molecular or a minor mistake. We got a time zone wrong. And then it's like, she lied. The plane left a couple of hours earlier. Maybe somewhere I made a mistake on a timeline of Charlie being here on this day when he's actually there on that day. But I'm talking like, where am I lying? Because I would like to stop if you can tell me.
She's not lying. But as my trusty colleague likes to say, Candace is flying very, very, very close to the sun. Very close. Now, we have debated whether or not she is protected like Tucker is. I believe she is. I surmise, I could be wrong, but my theory is that Candace is married to someone who is connected to MI6. That's my opinion. So aside potentially from U.S. intelligence, British intelligence as well, but she's protected. No two ways about it. And to her credit, she is willing to risk putting herself in exceptionally dangerous ways. She is in danger. I believe that. And who knows, maybe we would be. What if we had 15,000 people watching our channel instead of 2,000? What then? Who knows? But it's possible. Do you guys realize that we are about to pass 100,000 subscribers and there is not a single advertiser that has reached out to us to promote on our channel? We are going to pass 1.5 million views this month, maybe more. In this month, we will pass it. No one is looking to advertise on this channel. And I don't blame them. We are not exactly advertiser friendly, now are we? We are fighters for the truth, like Candace. And in this corporate oligarchic broken system that we're living in, that's not what they want to hear. Now, you know, if we were just a channel that just gossiped about other content creators and didn't actually care about the issues that matter, yeah, I have no doubt that they would be loving having an opportunity to promote this channel. Heck, we do comedy and we bicker back and forth and have a good time. And we're seekers of truth. I will also say that we have never lost sight of how far we've come. I know I haven't. I am reminded that I am very fortunate to be where I am right now, as is Jen. We have really come a long way. And I understand that at any moment it could be removed. It could be pulled away from us. We take a risk. We're not connected. We don't have people that are protecting us at the top. We're not that fortunate. But I have faith in the people that support our channel. Because I think you guys are all here for the same reason. And I have no doubt that the overwhelming majority of people that are in the chat are from all different walks of the political spectrum. There is not one ideology that finds its way here. And that's a good thing. I don't want to be Ben Shapiro or Hassan Piker. I want us to be about the people, about breaking down those different lines that people assume are in the way of collaboration. They're not. The powers that be want you to believe that that's what it is, but it's not. Nothing scares the powers that be more than our ability to cross-pollinate with people we don't necessarily agree with across the board. And as long as you're not part of the corporate special interest machine, as long as you do not support the Zio state or the current incarnation of the American system and realize that we are living through a revolutionary period as we speak, then you've come to the right place. We hope you'll stay. We hope you will support us before 100,000 subscribers and after. Smash that like button, share and subscribe. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, please consider going over to patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. Let's get in on that last count because we've had a huge audience tonight. Huge, really huge. And so right now, as of this moment, we currently sit at 97,236 subscribers. So we've moved up the ladder since our live stream has begun. And we've had a substantial amount of viewers tonight, which is great. And we've also had a handful of additional super chatters that have hopped on. We have to show some love and some appreciation. Let's see where we're at. In from Mig with the $2. Nick's ideology is anti-Zionist Zionism. Something like that. I don't know if I agree with it 100%, but I'll take it. And thank you for your support. Miss Capri with the $5 this time. Okay, EK, Miss Piggy from Muppet Show. Ask her about Charlie's parents and sister. Yeah, H-O-fessional, it's not okay for us to be lied to. I agree. It's the shekels. Taking them shekels. Mind wide open. Thank you very much for becoming a YouTube member. We really appreciate you being here. Mind wide open with the $2. He definitely looks pissed. If you're referring to Andrew Kolvet, I agree. There was something in those eyes. The eyes don't lie. So pay attention. Carson Cruz with the $10. Thank you, Peter. Hope for change. Don't hope. Fight for it. Fight with us. Thank you very much. Tropical Crazed. Thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you very, very much. Ivory Tart. Love to see you again. Can't forget you because I love that profile picture. Thank you for gifting 5 Revolutionary Change memberships. You are awesome. Inframig with the $5. Candace has a failsafe. She knows a lot more than she's letting on. If they get her, people will dump info and blow the situation wide open. I agree with you 1,000%. I firmly believe that Candace already knows who did this. She is basically trying to bring the public along with her. That's why, as she gets closer and closer to exposing the truth, I mean, she's already exposed quite a bit of it, but what you're now seeing is the full court press from the corporate establishment getting everybody in line on all sides of the political spectrum to basically make her persona non grata. That's what they're trying to do. But in my opinion, it's going to fail. Claudius with the 25. I think this is, if I remember correctly, I think this is from South Africa. Erika might be scared. She knows better. But you might be right. I can't say you're wrong. And finally, Hala H with the $9.99. Thank you very, very much for your generous support. And thank you all. Norway. Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, there's a country that has healthcare that we don't have. But with that said, one more time, patreon.com/revolutionary change. We appreciate your support there. We also would appreciate, since our crowd is still pretty big, if you guys would head over and subscribe to Revolutionary Change on Rumble. So if you can head over there, guys, that would be awesome. Remember, we are also on X, we are on Instagram, and we are on TikTok. So any and all support that you can provide would be tremendously appreciated, and it can just be done with a subscribe. That means a lot. Traffic, it helps grow our channel. It helps spread the word. We're going to do everything we can to help break the Zionist state. That is our job. And I believe we got one more super chat for the evening. Came in from Duly Noted. Good to see you with the $5. Have Chase Hughes and the host of The Behavioral Artist on the show. They both have the expertise to examine people's micro expressions and eyes. I like that. That's a good suggestion. I really appreciate it, Duly Noted. Jen, if you can screenshot that, or Duly Noted, if you have our email, admin@revolutionarychangenow.com, by all means, please send a message over. And if you have their contact info, even better. Any and all support is tremendously appreciated. For the final time this evening, smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. We appreciate you all. We love you all. We'll see you Monday, and free Palestine. Good night, guys.